So commence, so it is 5:01. And I'm gonna call to order the April 9th, 2026 Ithaca City School District Board of Education Facilities and Finance Committee work session. I should ask if we're live before I go there.
Yeah, you're good.
We're good to go, okay. All right, so that is item 1. Item 2 is public comment.
No one signed up.
No one signed up. Item 3, approval of minutes from the March 17th, 2026 meeting. It looks good to me.
Yes, I.
Ms. Yearwood approves. So we move on to item 4, facilities discussion items. Item 4.1, 2019 capital project construction update, and we have.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Certainly. Thanks, Eric. Yeah, again, my name is Travis Randall and I'm the project manager for Campus Construction Management Group. We're managing the active construction projects that are ongoing here at Ithaca. And so I have a brief slideshow just of kind of spaces that have been worked on in the past month, just to kind of provide some updates. And then at the end, I want to cover quickly some upcoming work that we have going on this summer that's I think will be exciting for folks. So. I go to. There we go. Okay. First slide, you might have seen there's some site work going on here at the high school outside of the STEM area. We're getting ready for these new sidewalks and paving kind of loop that's going to be outside of the STEM area. Better traffic flow and some additional parking putting in out there. Photo, and then the second photo kind of same, but from the other direction. This one actually points kind of diagonally towards Lake Street. Just shows the extent of some of the compaction and sub base that we put in prior to actually put in the sidewalks and paving in, so that they don't move and crack after they're installed. Okay, and then moving inside to the STEM area, just a photo here of this is a photo of a coiling door that we're installing that separates the existing building to the new addition, the open STEM area, room E7 getting installed. This next photo, again, also inside of the high school STEM area.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Back
the coiling door.
Yes.
Would students and staff go in between that area back and forth and especially since years ago with the sliding doors or whatever mechanical doors in gymnasiums, is there some sort of gauge that in case it's coming down, there's a sensor?
100%. Yeah, it's I think you can't quite see it in the photo, but there's a pressure plate there. So if it comes down, if it's in motion and there's somebody there, just it'll stop and go retract back up. I think the intent is for the door to generally be open, but can be closed if robotics, for instance, is taking place in space.
Or the fire alarm goes off.
Or fire, right? Yes. Excellent. The next photo here just shows some of the concrete floors in the process of being polished, not a finished product here. And also some of the knee walls. You can see the kind of the cinder block walls. That's where some of the new STEM equipment will get kind of placed up against that. That's where they'll get their power from within those walls. Next photo is the E6 auto shop. You see nearing completion. You see the polished concrete floors are completed in this space. Also the vehicle lift and number of installations in that room. Next slide. This photo is from within the welding shop. They have some material stored in there that's going to be installed elsewhere, but you can kind of get an idea of the exhaust kind of hood arms for welding and the specialty lighting that's appropriate for a welding shop in that space. And lastly, this photo, obviously in progress work. This is also at the high school in room F103. I included this just to kind of give a little insight into what it takes to remove the unit ventilators in one of the classrooms. So this is in the midst of a unit ventilator replacement. The new unit ventilators have the cooling capacity, so they not only cool or not only heat, but will cool the spaces. So this photo was actually taken over the recess, and obviously this room got put back together and is it back in use now with the new equipment. And any other questions on the construction that we have going on, the photos or otherwise? Excellent. And then I also just wanted to kind of give a brief summary of some upcoming work that we have coming on that will be taken on this summer. So the STEM area, that the photos that we just saw, we plan to have that completed and turned over for owner occupancy, move in this summer, so that beginning next fall semester, that area will be live for student use. So we're really excited about that. With that, we have the temporary classroom complexes that are housing STEM now. We plan to have them removed this summer, including the kind of piers and that they rest on, and the lawn area renovated there, restored back to grass. Also this summer, you'll see here at the high school this back parking lot that's kind of behind Area K along Lake Street, kind of complete renovation of that area where we're some additional parking, modifications to the bus loop to improve traffic flow, improve drainage out there. So you'll see a lot of activity out there. Also this summer at the high school, we have continuing on HVAC equipment replacements in areas K, A, and D to provide cooling to those areas. Also at Fall Creek this summer, we're removing the old playground. New playground replacement is scheduled for Fall Creek this summer, as well as at Fall Creek, flooring abatement throughout the corridors, and some cafeteria lighting renovation just in the cafeteria at Fall Creek, and also new cafeteria lighting going out at BJM. So a lot of stuff upcoming, and we have our work cut out for us to get ready for that summer work. So any questions about? Yes.
So will it be completed after the summer, the parking area?
Yes, yes, we will have that ready for staff. I don't know if students park in that lot or staff or students. Yeah, parking will be ready. Yep. All each of those items that I just kind of read through all started this summer and completed in our short construction window. Yeah.
And will there be and this is this area out here, you said.
Yeah.
Where the bus loops in and everything like that.
Pro-
So lighting, because when we in the winter months, it's very dark out there, so there's lighting.
New parking lot lighting, yes, yep, new signage, including e-sign, yep.
We actually discussed that a little bit at one of the OACM meetings, and I think you're underselling a little bit. It's a really nice improvement.
It's a tremendous improvement.
I think everyone will be pleasantly surprised. That area needs a helping hand. The plans look excellent, just in my view.
Thanks.
So thank you, Travis. So next up is Cayuga Heights.
So I'll just address that if I could. So if we're in the process of
determining this full scope of work. Part of that is the immediate mitigation of the damage that was caused by the flood. So we're working with ServPro and Tetra Tech. Right now, our first order of business is the resolution to declare it an emergency so that we can use funding to serve that purpose and also to receive state aid and response once we do so. The full scope of work will have that relatively soon, but at this point, that's our.
And that comes out of funds balance.
It would be out of our, various funds that we use, but part of that would be recovered through our insurance. Our insurance will cover up to about $500,000 of the total damage. So beyond that, it's kind of a balance.
Do we have like an order of magnitude of how much it might cost?
I hope to have that soon.
What's the deductible on the insurance?
Good.
Or is there not deductible? It's basically we can use up to 500.
Correct.
Over 500 we pay for it.
Correct.
Yes, just a note there, I was out of school on Tuesday. Tuesday. And I just wanted to acknowledge the really heroic efforts of the staff at Cayuga Heights in getting that school up and running. I believe the flood was last Tuesday and the school was open on Monday. When I was there, Principal Eileen Granger gave me a full tour, and her and her staff, the work that they put in over spring break, and they gave up their weekend so that school was ready to open on Monday morning. I just want to shout out to her and her team. That was really a commendable effort, and I think it's sort of an indication of some of the modernization of facilities that we need to start thinking about pretty soon. I had never been in this crawl space. I don't know if anyone else has been in there, but back in the depths of the school, and it was apparent to me that modernization is needed. So
is this like correlated to the ongoing issue that we've had with the water runoff coming off the hill that's kind of percolating under the building?
it is precisely, yeah. But it's just when you see principals spending week, 2 weeks becoming construction project managers rather than educating children, it's an indication to me that the quality of our physical plan is interfering with the educational mission. So it's something that we have to come back and look at.
The money that we're talking about for this, is this just for the building, or is this also going to deal with the water runoff? Right, because we clearly have a stormwater issue. So is any part of this budget going towards the exterior to deal with the stormwater?
Not at this point, it would be staged. So the first stage is mitigation, just to make sure that we've repaired all the damage due to the flood. After that, I think we're talking to Tetra Tech now about the full scope of work and what it looks like, and to try to make sure that we don't have that problem in the future, and whether or not that's feasible.
Yeah.
So that's something we'll be talking about.
I don't want to get it. I think there's an immediate short term of how to get the kids back in school and get rid of mildew and mold.
Of course.
And then there's sort of a longer thing of how to keep them happening in the short run. And then there's the longer term question of what's the why is the building in that state? So the short, medium, and long term that we'll have to come back to. So then extreme heat. Another great topic. Flooding in the heat.
Yeah, so Emily, do you mind putting it up? Thanks. Okay, so we in 2024, we received an amendment. So thanks, Governor Hochul's educational law, and that's okay. How do I go to the next slide?
You wanna go back now?
I wanna go, but I hit the button, is that right?
Every time.
All right, so this is also in our safety plan. That's page 6 in our safety plan, but at 82 degrees, we work with our staff, we've trained our custodial staff to look at turning off lights, turning off unused electronics, lowering the shades, opening the windows. Now we open the windows at night, and then we close them first thing in the morning to bring in extra cool air. And that's at 82 degrees. And this is also kind of what is recommended in the amendment as well. Now at 88 degrees, and some of the language has changed from Governor Hochul on this. students and staff can be relocated to core spaces. And the language he added is whenever is practical. So that was the change in this amendment. So what we're doing in facilities is we're doing a lot of custodial training to make sure that our custodians know what to do to cool down the spaces that I just reviewed. The amendment talks about taking a temperature in a real particular way with a psychrometer. I don't know if you're all familiar with that, but it's basically you put it goes on a tripod, and we had technology make a 3D printed device so we can attach it there. And each school has been trained to take the temperature, 3 feet off the floor using this on the stand. Okay, I know it seems unbelievable, but this is what is shared in the memo itself. So what we've done is we've purchased a lot of fans. We have a lot of mobile air conditioning units. We're looking at getting more as well. And our hottest spaces are because Tetra Tech helped us last year put together all the data for many years to find out where all of our hot spots are. And it was mainly the second floors of our elementary buildings: South Hill, Cuga Heights, Northeast, Bell Sherman. So those are our hottest points. And it gets to this temperature in June, typically, probably in the last 2 weeks of June. So we're going to make sure we deploy enough air conditioning units in those spaces because those are our hottest spaces. It also gets really hot in upper G and upper H in Ithaca High School. But now that we have 400 tons of cool air that we can move throughout the building, thanks to the improvements to the controls that we have, we're going to prioritize with that 400 tons of cool air in upper G and upper H and some other areas. So we won't have the same, hopefully, we won't have the same issues that we typically have in upper G and upper H. And that's the part of the building that's closest to the creek and gets the most amount of sunlight, especially on the top floor. People who have attended the high school probably remember. So that's our plan. The other thing is, in the elementary schools, we want to provide cafeterias as relief spaces. So we're going to put multiple air conditioned units in each of our cafeterias in our elementary buildings to cool as a space where classrooms could come. We've discovered this is the best location. The gyms are actually a lot harder for us to cool. The cafeterias seem to be the best places. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to meet with principals too to talk about. I did this a little bit last year too, to find out where classrooms can move if there's space. A good example would be last year at the end of the year at Enfield, we were able to figure out that obviously the front of the building gets really hot. Meanwhile, in the back of the building, it's much cooler. So moving classrooms, or at least offering teachers locations that are much cooler, is something that I want to work with principals about to get ready for the upcoming temperatures in May and June. Any questions at all?
Remember the end of last year, we talked about like some sort of reflective film or something on the outside of the windows for those specific units that struggle with, excessive sunlight. Did we ever?
For the windows?
Yeah.
We can't do that because of code. There's some code restrictions with putting film on the outside windows. I believe it has, Chris can probably talk better to this, but some of it has to do with first responders for when you're doing a lockdown drill. So first responders can actually see into classrooms. Yeah. And if you put film, you ruin that line of vision. So first responders can't see into classrooms.
Yeah, depending on the product, also there are access issues if they're robust films as well. They need to be able to get in to places. Solar access films tend to not be that difficult to get through.
Yeah.
Yes, there are a lot of strategies.
So did we ever actually look into it? So I'm not sure based on what you guys are saying.
We haven't studied it specifically. We talked about it. It is a strategy that can be used in some places.
Okay.
Yeah. And what aside from knocking the light down and vision like Dan was saying.
And I don't know why I didn't think of this before, but it just kind of pops in my head. What about planning trees in those areas to help provide like natural shade. I mean, if direct sunlight is the issue, I mean, you know, there might even be some programs to tap into where you're adding, you know, trees and get some sort of compensation. I don't know.
Maybe we can add it to OECM.
Yeah,
Maybe we
I just
can-
wanted to put it
no,
out
I
there,
think
just
these are-
in my head.
These are good ideas. I've
Yeah.
heard other people have talked about, painting different colors. That only really somebody shared an OACM one time, painting our roof of our building white, which I guess is used in really extreme heat conditions. It was really not maybe a practical solution for us, but maybe we do a deeper dive in all these topics in OECM,
Yeah.
like planting trees.
Yeah.
That we can talk about the film.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
sounds good.
I'd like to reclad at the high school solar fence.
Yeah.
Solar fence can do
Solar fence.
a lot of that work.
Yeah.
And position so that in the summer blocks the
Yeah,
sun and in the winter lets it in.
yeah,
Let's do it.
we're so excited about that.
But there's, so for all the elementary spaces, yeah, I'm excited about it. For all the elementary spaces, so there's sufficient fans and AC units to be deployed in all of the affected areas.
We certainly have enough fans. I mean, I was hearing that today. We have, I think, between 30 and 40 portable air conditioning units, and we're looking at probably expanding that number. I feel like we're in a good place right now. It really only gets, the historical data was really eye-opening. It really only happens towards the end of the school year, and it really only happened. It only happens where classrooms reach 88 in certain buildings. So I do think we have the resources to co-op those spaces.
Yeah, and it's only a couple times out of the year. It's not like a month long, 30-day in a row type of thing. It might be a couple days out of the month, out of the entire year, right?
Yeah, no, that's true.
Yes, no, right, yes.
And we're looking to secure possibly some more portable air conditioning units as well.
And for the students and faculty,
Yeah.
staff who are working in the rooms, is 82. I guess, like, that's the state's number. Like, what is it like to actually teach in a room that's like 78 or 75 or 81? Like is that like that's the
82 is this, so the amendment says 82 is where you have to start taking precautions. And then 88 is the number where you have to start thinking about other locations if possible.
right? I'm asking, have there been conversations with staff about whether or not we should have a lower threshold for considering taking mitigation efforts? I'm trying to remember teaching in Mississippi, but I think it really sucked teaching at 80 degrees. Or low. So I'm just, have there been conversations?
Yeah, I was about to jump in.
Thank you.
Because what I'm seeing, the policy cannot drive someone's comfort in the classroom, particularly when we're talking about weather.
Sure.
As a person been an administrator for 25 years, this is an ongoing conversation. Rooms are always either too hot or too cold, depending on someone's personal preference. So that is an ongoing conversation, and there are people who want their rooms to be warmer or cooler. Then that's a let's talk. That's a conversation with the principal, and that I just want to make sure folks know that that's been happening. We're having that right now at Infield, for example, with folks wanting their classrooms to be warm, and there's no policy driving that conversation. It's just about I don't feel comfortable anymore. So there are two different conversations.
Yeah.
Not to say either one is good, because people want to be comfortable, and it's sometimes very individualistic. And they're all ongoing.
We don't wait to deploy the air conditioning units until we hit these numbers. Those units will go to the buildings before that. Also, I should say that we do have buildings that have full air conditioning right now. So BGM has full air conditioning features. Both our middle schools and our high school has the 400 tons. So we're really talking about more as our elementary buildings. As well as we have students who have them on their IEPs to have air conditioning units in spaces as well. So we'll make sure we deploy the air conditioning units well before we hit the 82 mark, and we can set them up ahead of time on that as well. And I imagine, for students that have it on their IEPs, it'll be in that classroom we'll make sure that it's in the classroom well before the first wave of heat comes. If that makes sense.
Oh, I said another example of why I think modernization of physical plan. Jacob, to your point, I was in South Hill in the spring 2 years ago and be below 82, but still really difficult in the teaching environment. So
But there's practices in place where if there are concerns about individual classrooms, they are raised to the facilities level and there's something that happens.
I've been meeting fairly regularly with Aaron and Sean about deployment. We will certainly expedite our deployment of all these units to schools, and we'll start turning them on as soon as it gets warm. We're not going to wait to 82 degrees. That's what you're asking.
okay. Thank you.
Okay.
So I think we move on to consideration of accounts.
Very good, thank you. Lori couldn't be with us tonight, the treasurer, so Emily, I'll have provide you with that information. So. Let's see.
Okay, the normal things, the treasurer's report, P&L report, I know we have a lot to discuss tonight, so unless you have any particular questions on these two reports, I'll just pass through them. They're pretty self-explanatory as it is. The one thing that will stand out to you this month will be the transfer report, and this is when we do the large transfers to balance out all the payroll codes. We call it salary settlement. So it just is rearranging everything to accommodate the payroll for where people are getting paid out of. They may have started one year, we budgeted them in a certain budget code, and then shifting happened and they're being budgeted out of other budget codes. So this is something you're normally going to see at this time of year. It's usually a one and done, but you may see a little bit more trickling in. But this is the big, huge right sizing everything and making sure it's all right. In particular, this is a little bit more because of the negotiations not being settled when we went into this year. So there was a lot of speculation on our part when we were budgeting, and it's shifting all this money around. Okay, so I hope that explains why that is so big this time. We received a donation from Boynton Student Activities. Actually, this is fees collected and it comes into for the NYSMA, New York State Music Association, for the fees of the students who participate in that event. And then the district also supports a portion of that as well. So it's kind of a shift of fees. We have some surplus items, some forklifts that have been defunct for many, many years, and we're finally pushing them out the door. So we can prepare to maybe look to getting a new one that works. So those two are irreparable, just a mess, so they're going out the door. We have a few grants that have finally come in, the IDEA 619, 611, and I know I'm probably going out of order. I'm going out of my head here without it in front of me. And I believe a title grant was finalized. So it's just accepting these grants from the state and appropriating these funds into the budget. And we have a couple of cooperative resolutions so we can participate in some cooperative bidding. One is with the GST BOCES for bread, milk, I believe it is. You did another one for DCMO last month, allowing us to participate in that cooperative bid. And then a new one that has come about this year is participation in a cooperative bid that's run through the Oswego BOCES for water testing and sampling. I'm not sure how much, I'm not really an expert on this piece because it's more of a facilities thing, but this one is a new cooperative bid. And this just allows us to participate in cooperative type services that these BOCES provide to us. I think, did I hit everything? I think I did. Any questions on anything that I just rattled off to you?
Well, going back to the food
Yeah.
service statement,
Yes.
the value of food used, that category.
Value of food used. Okay.
How is this measured?
Oh, this is the government commodities that come in. So the government places values on the foods that we receive. We always have to recognize that, and we actually have to do some entries to show the expense and then the revenue coming in for that food. At the end of the year, we have to do an inventory of what that value is. So the values are coming in from the government commodities, places that process those.
And then all of these under revenue, these terms are public school education terminology.
Yes, yeah, they're all the revenue.
Yeah.
The definition of those particular revenue codes. The other thing I want to
This one
point
doesn't
out,
seem too right to be in food services at the top section.
what doesn't seem to be?
Adult sales.
We'll add something to that, okay?
So I'm guessing that's
It's
adult
staff
food.
staff buying, yes, staff buying
items.
lunches, breakfast and things like that.
Change that to a code instead.
I never even thought of it. And then you'll also notice we are still involved in the FDA grant.
Yeah,
It is a jumping through many hoops to get those funds to come in and proving that we've actually spent the money. So there is a slight negative in there that you'll see. We have revenue coming in from that grant. It's just, I think I have 2 quarters put in now that I'm still getting emails from Doge and saying, explain what you use this money for. So, and I respond, and eventually they'll send us the money, but it's running a little bit behind, so it's all good. Anything else? No?
Which takes us to item 6 on the agenda. Budget discussion.
Very good. If you wouldn't mind. So Dr. Boylek asked if we could share projections for the next 3 years. Thought, well, want to be able to create something where everyone would understand so the impact of the various variables that play into the budget. So we literally wrote an application to do this. And I think Dr. Boylek for his input in developing this application. So we're going to share that with the public eventually to be part of that budget book we talked about. And it also gives you the opportunity to change the variables and see how they impact the budget moving forward over the next 3 years. So is there any way we can get that larger, you think? Maybe not.
Very small.
It is small.
It is linked in board docs. If anybody wants to click it on their computers, you can play with it there.
So
Sorry.
that's okay. Let me kind of go through and explain what this is first, so it'll make sense. Just a couple things to be aware of. The first section here is the 24-25 school years. We add that as a baseline because we actually know those figures. Those are done, that's based on the audit and we've done here, right? So what this shows at the top is our fund balance from the audit for the 24-25 school year. That's 36.3 million, okay? The line underneath it, the blue line, represents our restricted reserves. So reserves for healthcare, capital reserves, so on and so forth, right? That figures at 21.1 million. The orange line down below, that $6.4 million, that's the 4% that New York State says we can keep as a rainy day fund. So all of that is part of our fund balance. Now the difference, these don't add up to this. The difference would be what we utilize for our assigned fund balance, that extra funding that we roll over year to year to hopefully ease the burden on the taxpayer. So that's the difference in those dollar amounts. Good so far? Awesome. So the variables that I added here so that we could do the projection were a few things. So anticipated budget growth. Now again, none of these are written in stone. This is just so we can project out. So we put 4% there. It's the average over the past 3 years, right, of how the budget grows on a yearly basis. The next thing was the additional revenue over. So we looked at the past 3 years to see how much our additional revenue grows on average. And it's about 3% that it grows. So we kept that at 3%. But again, if you want to play, you can go ahead and do that. You can see how those would have an impact. The third one is projected underspending. We try to budget to the penny, but to give ourselves some padding because by law we can't go over budget. We leave a little bit of room in there. And typically that's been between 2 and 3% a year, that underspending. So we put that there as a baseline figure. Down below, the first box here is anticipated state aid. This year we know. So for 26-27, we know it's 9.48% overall for state aid. Okay. To be conservative, because I think it's important that we do that, especially looking around in some of the other districts and the financial hardships that they're dealing with right now.
We left the next to it 3%, but again, you can change those. So conservative figures, 3% per year. The next set of figures here is the tax levy. So right now, because of the tax cap, and I've said this before, 4.18% is the tax cap. So we put that in there as the baseline figure. Play with that as well. The last one is other revenue growth. That various things, interest and so on and so forth. Correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure that's interest and
Yes.
other figures that we might get. So the growth for that particular figure this year for 26-27 is 2.31%. Average, that's been about 3%, but again, this year, that's what the current figure is. I won't dive into the bottom, but I'll just show you what that looks like if we can scroll down. This gives you the financial figures, and these will change as you change the variables up here. So it'll show the projected budget, and it'll show all of those and how they impact out to project over the next 3 years. Okay, this gives you the actual financials. So here's where the fun begins. So now 4.18 is where our tax cap is, and we were looking at other options for the tax levy. And I think it's important we do that so you can see what the impact is on our fund balance. And we talked about the importance of fund balance because, again, that's how we borrow, that's how we're seen in terms of our quote unquote credit rating, our bond rating, and so on. So obviously, if these lines get to the point where they start crossing, that's when we may have an issue, and we have to have conversations about that because our reserves, our restricted reserves, those are restricted for those particular uses, right? So we want to make sure that we have enough fund balance to maintain that 4% if we can, and of course, anything above and beyond that is helpful in terms of easing the overall burden for the taxpayer. So where do you want to begin? I can show you what that looks like.
The link is on board docs now, is it?
It is on board
Yeah,
docs. I
that's
can
okay.
click it. I can also make changes here and you can see how it affects the graph.
And I'll repeat this whole thing on Tuesday, lucky you.
So I honestly might better, since it's really hard to see that, it might be better to let folks do it on their own.
Sure.
Maybe what I didn't underscore is the power of this tool. I mean, we'd asked for a low, medium, and high projection, but what we got back is an infinite projection because you can dial in any number, any of the variables, and see for yourself instantaneously. So this is a just phenomenal tool, and I know transparency of the budget is an issue that comes up every time, and now every member of the public, every teacher, everyone can go in. The numbers are there; they can make their own projections, look at their own forecasts, and see for themselves. And this will be very helpful for us on Tuesday.
Very nice. Given that this is my first time in budget season, I am less seasoned than Dr. Pilek, so I actually like the tool. I appreciate. I also would love, like, can you just show us tax levy, like make it 2% and just talk us through how I should interpret or how we should.
Let's do 3%. It's a little more reasonable. Sorry.
Sure.
So let's do 3%. You notice how the green line dips, right? So that's the active line of 3%. It shows you the difference here from our baseline at 4.18 and what the difference is. You can't see it here, but it shows you the dollar amounts we would no longer retain if that levy were to change or go down. And so one of the things to keep in mind, and this isn't a sales pitch, it's more of a be aware. If the tax cap is 4.18, you go in under the tax cap, those dollars are lost perpetually. So that's kind of an important thing to keep in mind. And it could also impact our tax cap calculations moving forward as well. So
How could it impact it?
it's part of the formula where the cap was how much to leave on the table. Kind of works into that formula. So it may say, well, you don't need as much, so the tax cap can be less the following year. So I'm cautious of that. We can actually add that to this so you can see it.
Is there a model for that, or is it kind of like an arbitrary analysis? Like how do they determine the impact that it would have? So if we were, 25 basis points under the tax cap, how could that impact how much we get next year? Do we know, or is it kind of a guess?
A bit of a gray area because it looks at the combined wealth ratio of Ithaca, for example. So this is more of a common sense answer, and I'll get an actual formula answer for you.
Yeah.
But my guess is that it's something along the lines of if you didn't ask for that, you don't need it.
moving forward, but let me get a definitive answer for
Yeah,
you.
that'd be good, I'd be sure, thank you. Sure.
Can you say what variables typically impact the tax levy increase that New York State allows, like in an inflationary environment? Is it typically higher than a deflationary environment, and what other factors might go in? Because I think we're looking at some of the estimates, trying to imagine, okay, if next year is 3 and the year after is 3, but what if it's 1 and 2 or something?
It really is based on the
CPI.
Yeah, there's a number of factors that, property values, like I said, combined wealth ratio. There's a figure that I forgot where we are. Do you remember it's 0.24, and I had a figure is it's a higher combined wealth ratio, and that's how they determine what your partially how your tax cap is calculated. So it's a number of different factors.
So tax base growth factor, and it was 0.67 this year. So what that is this area and how it's growing and as compared to the rest of the state. So they give us this growth factor. That's the first thing, and that gets applied to your levy from the past year. That's why if you decide to go under the tax cap, you're actually lobbing off a chunk of money that would be taken into consideration in your next calculation the following year. So that's the first step that takes that money out of the calculation. And then we have, then the pilots come in. Of course, we know that, but we also, what makes this more difficult for us to project is because we have the exclusions for our capital projects and our aid. So that's kind of going to be a real estimate for us to figure out where we are with our aid coming in and our expenditures on our capital projects for that exclusion. But the other factor is the CPI or 2%, whichever is less. So that determines, so it's whichever one is less is what you use in that.
That 0.67 in real terms means that we're essentially 67% wealthier than most comparable districts.
Okay,
So
The growth
that's
factor, yeah.
and when you say growth factor, is that based on like area median income, or is that based on student growth population, like what we talking about?
it's income and house values.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
So, a minutia question on that. We know from Jay Franklin's presentation that the Tompkins County Assessment Office is gonna hold property values frozen until 2029, I believe.
Right.
How much is that going to?
Well,
And then we get a big bump then in 2029, because it's
potentially.
he's basically like artificially withholding increases in property value and then releasing it, I should say,
Yeah.
in 2029.
There's another way to balance that factor out. It's equalization rates.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I think we're just seeing that hit this county because the equalization rates changed from 100% to 95%, which sort of mitigates that fact that they didn't change assessments. So I know you're feeling it.
Yeah.
I saw it,
Oh, of
right?
course.
So, right. To some degree, not as much as a significant increase in assessments, but it's an attempt to try to equalize for that fact that they're not doing assessments. So
Does that mean that so basically a sort of a 5% is that a way to think of it? It's just across the board.
it doesn't quite work out to that, but
I know it's like depending on where you start, and it's not quite 5, but roughly 5%, right? Okay.
If I could underscore it, again, it's a powerful tool. And one of the frequently asked questions we've been getting is how we've been very clear. We have a very competitive compensation strategy for all bargaining units in our organization. And we've been asked often, how do we anticipate affording to do so? I think this tool answers that question. Again, we have very conservative estimates that we plug into the formula, and it shows how we're projecting out over the next 3, and we could probably go out 5 or 6 if we needed. I know that would make me nervous, but for the next 3 years, we were able to keep the same compensation strategy in place and dip into fund balances and reserves at a minimal level like we showed on the screen, even in the most conservative ways.
This is really state of the art. I haven't been to all 700 school district websites in the state, but I don't believe any other district has this level of reporting.
We're pulling together a document, Emily's help, that is capturing what's happening in other school districts, particularly small city school districts across our state this current year. Not to shame anyone, or not just to highlight how folks are approaching budget and staffing and compensation. And I can say that it's not looking good across our state.
Yeah.
People are cutting 60, 70 positions in the current year, depleting their fund balances, no pay increases. Like, it's a tough time across our state. So for us to be here talking about how we're projecting out 3 years at the same compensation strap is something to highlight for us. But it's taken us a while to get here too. But we'll share that document with the board soon, just so you can have a comparison of what it's looking like and how people are approaching these unsettling times.
So that's helpful. And Don, you had sort of referenced, you know, it's important to think conservatively, like were you drawing a direct contrast with surrounding districts not acting in that way? I'm trying to understand what is the differentiating factor?
I would not speak on their behalf. I think we've been great benefactors of taxpayer funds of the past decade, and we want to continue that action.
So that's sort of like the main factor, you think?
Benefactors and stewards.
Right.
We've done everything from adjust our approach to healthcare and bringing that in-house. We've managed the fund balances appropriately. When our budget went down, we adjusted our staffing model. We cut 20% of our administrative costs, for example. We're well below what other districts like ours are when it comes to administrative staffing. Our class sizes went up. So some of the things that people are doing today that are going to hurt, we've been modifying and mitigating those things over the last 5 years from my perspective, since the pandemic. So there's a lot to go in. Maybe when we present that document, we can talk about what we've been doing over there. Yeah, I'm bald because of this, but it hasn't been easy. And it's set our district up now for the foreseeable future where we're stable.
I don't want to name individual districts here in the meeting, but offline I can send you some links. There are a lot of districts not far from us who are looking at draconian layoffs and problems, and I'm feeling very good about where we are. It's exactly what Dr. Brown said.
Thank you.
Now, the budget book was introduced to us at last month's finance committee. And then we discussed it at the end of March. And now, is this information coming from there, or is it a standalone? Is it linked somewhat?
The figures are, all the figures are baseline figures. So
Right.
from 24 to 25, we use the audit to begin with, right? And then the planned budget for the current budget we use as those figures, and of course the proposed budget. But it's all based on the figures that we already have. So it's all in the budget book in all lines.
But this system isn't linked to the budget book, what you just shared with us. There's no link that it automatically.
We can't do that.
Oh, to change the figures in the budget? No.
Oh, no, we can't
do that.
So, and I'm looking back on board docs as well as online. We don't put anything online until we vote on budget. But yet for us who need to review that, I don't see anything online. I don't see the budget book in
The budget book, I see.
It's not
in
board
the
doc.
prior board docs. I don't see it. Yeah. Cause we're voting on
I
Tuesday.
know, that should be there. We'll update.
Yeah.
We can share the link
Yeah,
with them directly and then
Yeah.
they'll them to get in.
We were talking about some different options for the budget and we're gonna vote on that on Tuesday. So on Tuesday, are we gonna be presented, Garrett, with one budget that we're going to say yes or no on? Because we had come up, there were some iterations, right? Where it was like, are we gonna use fund balance? Are we gonna get all of this from taxpayers? We're talking about some different iterations. So I'm just wondering on Tuesday, are we going to be presented with some options to choose from, or are we going to be presented with one option? To say yes or no?
Well, I mean, procedurally, I have to ask Dr. Bradwell. We can put any number in a resolution, right? So how, from a parliamentary point of view, whether he wants to, we could have an infinite number of resolutions, right? It's one number we're looking at. I think our goal had been to recommend a number.
Correct.
I think we're gonna hold off on that. Now, ultimately,
Well, we need that.
We need to.
Yeah, we look at tonight, we're gonna try to hone in on what number we were gonna bring to y'all on Tuesday as an option. And we can go up or down from there. Let's just say we're at 3.99 right now. And the board may ask us to go higher all the way to the cap, the 418, or go lower from the 3.9. That's one way to look at it right now, but we will land on a number, I hope, on Tuesday.
Because there was discussion at the last meeting that when we saw the three options.
Right.
I'm just trying to remember
What,
that there was one where
taking $1 million from fund balance?
Right. the middle one and where the, I don't remember.
That was 3.18.
Right, the one to the right was the tax levy was 4%.
Yeah, 4, 3, and 2. And you want to see what it would look, what those numbers would impact, how those numbers would impact our fund balance.
But
And
the 4% one did not use any fund balance.
It uses the standard assigned fund balance that we've rolled over from year to year, it would continue to use that, but it wouldn't be an additional
Right.
use of fund balance, correct? And that's what this allows you to do. If you change the tax levy percent by year to 3.18, it will show you how much more fund balance that would utilize moving into for that particular year. And how that would have an impact on fund balance moving forward.
Oh, sorry, I'm on there now, so whatever you punch in, that's where then the projections change on there. Hence, so now I'm looking at the 3-year change to 9.6 million at 3%, but at 4.18, it was like 5.2 million.
Correct, that's right.
Okay,
And the difference there would be the additional use of fund balance
right.
between those two figures.
Well, I guess I'm just wondering who's gonna make the decision about that final number that's gonna be presented to the board to be voted on, because I thought in this meeting tonight, we were going to talk about some different options and maybe come to some kind of consensus, and that was gonna inform the recommendation, and that recommendation would be voted on Tuesday. It just seems like it's going in a different direction, so I'm curious what's happening.
So at the last meeting, we're talking about looking at a low, medium, and high. And we've gone now from 3 scenarios to infinite scenarios, right, with the tool. So that any, not choosing one, we could put any number in. But we could.
That's why I recommended, three nine. And maybe that's a place to start our conversation tonight. So we were at 399 instead of the 418. And instead of the 3.18, which was the middle option the last time we met. How do folks feel about 3.9? You want us to go up higher all the way to the cap or go lower? I'm just trying to keep the conversation moving and get us to a number to be recommended for Tuesday.
Well, I just wanted to go back to the original, because when we put some numbers on the board last time, there were definitely 3 numbers. And that would be a good place to find an orient, but I don't remember it being like 4, 3.9 or 3.8. I felt like they were like $1 million apart. Like one of them was dipping into fund balance. I think you had said $1 million.
But do you see, are you on the website? Because you can punch in the number and see whatever scenario you want
Yes,
to see.
I understand that.
So that's what they're saying. We have a tool where we have an update, so we can do whatever we want to do. We don't have to have 3 scenarios. We can look at any scenario we want to look at.
Yeah, I understand.
Every option under the sun.
But when we were talking, I understand, but when we were talking last time as a board, we were starting the conversation by looking at like a low, medium, and high option as a way to kind of orient the conversation. I know we can put in any number we want, but me putting in a number that I want right now, like I can put in 3.726, but I don't know that will turn into anything coming before the board. So I think I was just trying to rewind back to the last plan that we had.
To narrow it down.
Which was when we put up 3 different numbers and we said we have low, medium, high, and we were gonna maybe choose between one of those 3 numbers.
Oh, sorry, my brain just jumps ahead. I feel like that we can do that. We can sit here and put in whatever numbers we want and discuss it.
Okay,
So
so,
we can all sit and say,
Yeah.
what number do we want to put in? 4.18, 3.99, 3.18?
but how, I'm just wondering how, maybe you could answer from your own perspective, like how you would orient yourself to answering a question like that with those decimals. Like, I don't know how I would say, okay, 3.89, 3.91. What would that be based on? How would I?
We have the people here to have a conversation. It'd be the same basis that we would have in a meeting, but we just have multiple infinite options.
So if I can interject, so thank you. The idea is, at least from my perspective, to preserve our fund balance as much as we possibly can while not burdening taxpayers, right? That's the goal. So I think as a baseline, we started with those 3 figures. It's easy to understand. Here's the low, here's the medium, here's the high, right? There's nothing stopping us from using those as a baseline at this point. So plug in 3.18, plug in 2.18. See the difference between the green line and the red line. That tells you how much additional funds we'd have to use from fund balance to support the budget.
Can I ask a clarifying question? We did have those 3 numbers.
Right.
How accurate was the output of those 3 scenarios versus what I'm seeing here? Because I almost feel like this is showing me different numbers. It's not?
It's
Okay.
within reason. So for example, I put in 3.18.
Yep.
And the difference in fund balance used for 26, 27 would be $1.2 million different. So I think it was right around 1.1 or 1.145. It's right.
So we were looking at it just from a curious perspective right now.
From a what?
Just from a one, I'm gonna look back in the other
Yeah.
meetings to see.
Yeah, because
For 1 year.
Right, we
That's
previously, and I think that's maybe where the discrepancy is, it's like we were seeing a 1 year forward looking, where this is showing 3, and obviously it's exponential as you go year.
She's gonna put it back.
Yeah,
Right.
right,
On screen now.
Right, because if you do the 3.8, it's 1.2 million for upcoming fiscal year, and it jumps to 2.4, then it goes to 3.7, so it's like.
Right.
It's compounding.
Sure, we
Yeah.
didn't share the 2 years after.
Right,
that, which,
exactly.
You know, so we only shared the 1 year, which is 26, 27, and
Right.
we're within, very small margin. And
Right.
that might be due to some of the parameters settings here.
Yeah.
So.
Is it, I'm looking in the agenda from last time, and I don't see it under budget development.
Is this one?
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
So there's the increase in fund balance, 1.145, and this is rounding, it's showing 1.2.
Again, maybe it's just a new to budget thing, but Dr. Brennan, you talked about, let's take this number and like, how do we feel about it? I guess feelings just, I know you didn't mean it this way, like feelings seem so arbitrary to me, like what is, I guess, similar to Adam's question, what is a normal way to think about these distinctions?
What distinction?
Like, or just the differences in tax cap numbers, like with the infinite options.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah, going back to Adam's question, like how would we think about 3.61 versus 3.65? Is that a level of granularity that is common?
This is a bit different because in the past, we've gone to the tax cap or attempted to go over it.
Right.
And we've gone to the tax cap strategically so that we could maintain and build our fund balances and to have a very competitive compensation strategy. Because we're in a stable environment right now, we are considering not going all the way to the cap. And I think I was in a meeting, I reminded Sean, the last time we didn't go to the cap, it hurt us. We had some implications in year 2 and 3 because we didn't have that additional money to impact the formula, the tax cap formula in the future, and our fund balances will go. So one board member said we left money on the table. So again, we just haven't talked about not going to the cap, which is a formula that's been put in place for many years to give us an indication of where we probably should be taxed. So that's what we are in some ways.
Yeah, and another way to put it is, instead of saying I'm leaving money on the table, leave more money in taxpayers' pockets, right? Because we're not taxing them as much. So there's a different way to look at it,
Very
right?
much so.
And we know that is a big issue right now in communities, how much people are paying for property taxes.
Yes.
And it's a delicate balance, right? So,
I guess but this is, I guess I'm left with this question. So like as a governing body where we have to make a decision about this and then put something forward. I'm just really struggling to wrap my head around like 4.18 versus 4 versus 3.8. I know I can put the numbers in and I can look at what happens, but like I'm wondering how I should orient my decision because saving taxpayers, like of course we want to save taxpayers money, so then we say, okay, so we'll make it 4, but then I could say, well, if we want to save taxpayers money, let's make it 2.5. Oh no, we shouldn't do that because that's dipping too much into the fund balance.
yes.
How do we, how shall we think about it?
So my understanding is our writer, looking at this formula, 4.18 is basically keeping the fund balance
Pretty steady.
steady, right? So the real question is, if we go below the tax cap, we are gonna have to dip into our fund balance in order to do it. We do have a healthy fund balance.
Yeah.
So it's like, is this an opportunity to give some relief to the local taxpayers? But then there's risk with that, because again, going forward, it impacts what our tax cap would be next year, the following year. Does that help? So yeah, that's the question. And then like, how do we discern like what is a healthy fund balance? And I think that's the conversation that we're having, right? Just like at what point does it become too risky? And there is implications because we have a really good credit rating, which means that we make a high, we can borrow at a lower rate. So that impacts our budget. So like there's a lot of different variables to take into account. I mean, it is complex. And a lot of it is just your forecasting and doing educated guesses on what's going to happen in year 3. And we don't have a crystal ball, so that is hard to kind of determine. So
the capital has changed since the last time we met. We had a flood that's cost a lot of money in one of our buildings that needs to be replaced immediately. So from my perspective, we have a fund balance for those reasons, and that fund balance is going to be dipped into in a way that we didn't think about 2 weeks ago.
Also trying to take some of the crystal ball out of this by giving you the variables that we look at, right? And so that you can realistically say, well, budget growth at 4%, saying this off the cuff, but well, it was 5% this year, what if it's 6% next year?
Yeah.
You know, and you can look at that in real terms and see what it does. I would suggest that you look at the trajectory more than anything else, because that is a key factor. You know, we have to be cautious about the trajectory we put our fund balance on. That's hard to recover from. So think through that as well.
And I'm sorry.
So,
go ahead.
you know, I don't know, it's a good question, I mean. I don't think there's a precise science to, you know, whether it's 318 or 319. But, you know, in statistics, there's this term Bayesian updating, which is new information arrives, so you sort of update based on new information. So we all know that there will be future unexpected expenses. And we just know they're coming, but we don't know what they are. But in line with the sort of notion of Bayesian updating, Dr. Brown's right, we did have a flood. And we don't have the total bill yet, but we know it's gonna be substantial. And so I had been myself looking at somewhere in the middle, but then we have to start updating, and now we know that we have this actual expense and we don't have a number for it yet. By next week, will we have a better? So, you know, I'm kind of tempted to hold off until we have that number and at least update with that. And I realize there's still uncertainty in the future, but that, you know, what's happening at Cutting Heights is not uncertainty, it happened. So I would sort of update on that and
Will we be able to?
well, we
We
just.
do have to vote. You do have to vote
Yeah.
Tuesday.
Right.
Yeah.
So on Tuesday, what I'm asking is sort of like, behind the scenes, will a number be chosen that will then?
Can I just say, I'm recommending we do 3.9, and then you can say, I don't like your recommendation, or I do. I don't think we should go above 4, and I like the 3.9 number. I think we need the 3.9 based on what's just happened, and to keep our trajectory and fund balances healthy for the next 3 years, according to my formula here.
So that's exactly where I was going. So I had been looking at, you know, when we had a high, medium, and low, I had been looking at the medium. All right, and you can see the difference in, you know, total cost right down the bottom line. And again, I don't want to say I'm not an engineer, but I have in the back of my head, you know, a rough idea of what I think, you know, it's going to cost to repair Coyote Heights. And I don't want to reveal that number because, you know, it's just in the back of my head. But my personal guess, just having walked the building about what it's going to cost, having heard what we spent so far, and looking at the situation, suggests that it's going to be somewhere, you know, in the difference, you know, there's different scenarios, which is why I was about to say I'm kind of lining up with what Dr. Brown just said, which is I think it'd be like to keep it below 4, you know, as a gesture to taxpayers that we know this is a difficult time, but at the same time reflecting the fact that we now have a known expense that I think is going to be, you know, somewhere in the order of magnitude of the differences across these scenarios, and all those things we need to come down really at about the same place Dr. Brown just said.
Order of magnitude above the 500,000, so we have $500,000 of insurance money.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you think it'll be $1 million of
I won't say the
repairs?
figure, but it's gonna go beyond 500,000, I like it.
Significant.
So we're about to spend a large.
I'm in the wrong business.
Actually, I thought you were.
No, I don't bring that stuff.
No, you should visit with me.
I would actually love to.
Send you a note.
Let me know.
You should walk through.
It is revealing.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to be more than we're going to exceed our insurance. And you know, again, I want to say number because I'm not trained to offer a number,
Yeah.
but the number in the back of my head looks to be somewhere similar to those things, which is why I come down exactly where Dr. Brown comes out.
Has there been local press about what happened at Cute Heights?
Do you want?
Well, I was thinking if that's like what I'm hearing is a rationale for a number based on an event, which then people will be voting on, so it would seem advantageous for voters to know.
Not yet. We'll have all of that as part of the work that Servpro is doing. They take photographs and share that. So again, I just want to throw this back up here and put the 3.9 in, and just a couple points. The trajectory is still trending downward, something to keep in mind. The other issue, or the other point I want to bring up is that when we started this several months ago, we mentioned that, you're looking at a strategic plan, that's still part of the big picture, right? So,
That's what, is that the 3.9?
Do you want me to set it?
No,
if you could, yes,
Yeah.
please,
So 3.9 is a difference of 332,000
correct.
total
You know,
for tax levy.
and a quick caveat is, hypothetically, if we did a lower number this year. You
Yes.
don't have to do a lower number.
Right.
So this line is trending down, but that's based on keeping that
Right.
levy continues.
That's right.
Or the number continues, but if we wanted to next year. With new information, we could say, hey, let's actually go to the tax cap just because we're having all these other unforeseen issues. So that does, it is trending down, but it doesn't mean that it has to continue that. We can adjust next year.
And that's a great exercise too. You could enter
Yes.
4% for 27-28 and see
Yeah.
what the trend does, right?
Yeah.
We also don't know what our tax cap is going
I
to
was
be.
We
gonna
don't
say,
know.
Well, that I wanted to ask that, like historically,
Right.
where does it fall? Like,
It really, actually, Emily was working on it now. It really does depend on a number of factors. So we just don't know. And I don't want to say it.
Yeah. Is there data, like, I'm sure we could look at like, historically over the last 10 years, I mean, I'd be curious, and I think that could be beneficial for the board making a decision too. Yeah,
It stays relatively the same because we've stayed the same.
Yeah.
In terms of how
Or
we
our capital project.
Right.
can you speak about the year, that we were talking about before, where we went under the tax cap, and then there's money left on the table?
Yeah, at the time, I believe the law allowed for districts. When we made the decision, the law allowed for districts, if not going to the tax cap, you could use the amount of money the percentage you didn't use as part of the tax cap, you could bank it and use it in future years. Let's say, the tax cap of 4.18 this year, we only went to 3. So that 1.18% we could use in another year if the cap was, and then after making the decision, I think in that summer, Governor Cuomo changed that law.
Got it.
And so as a district, we were here planning, I had the same conversation. Man,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in time. Next year, we look at this again, and if we need to use that 1.18, we will, so that we won't have to exceed the tax cap and we can keep our fund balances. And we didn't have that ability. And yeah, I remember the Bell Sherman line around the building, and we had to go over the cap that year.
And I can't remember why, but 3% stuck in my mind as pretty much the average.
Yeah.
What we anticipate.
Okay.
Do we know how much $332,000 will save the average taxpayer? Like, do we have a denominator?
No, wait, get that for you. It would be,
Well, for every $100,000 your house is assessed for.
yeah, we could get that for you.
Well, just because, to make it a little bit like a real world question, like,
Sure.
okay, we want to do 3.9, 3.8, 3.7, actually every 1/10%, we can save the average household this much, and then you can wrap your head around it a little more.
Sure. The per thousand rate was about 1540. Don't hold me to that yet. The per thousand,
$15.40.
correct.
I would also love to see something like that on Tuesday, because
Yeah.
because I know it's impossible to estimate, but in the same way, when you were like, we don't know for Q Heights, in my mind, I'm like 500,000, 2 million,
Right.
30 million, like I just.
We do want to be cautious because we can't give you an exact figure. We don't know that because of the overall levy. We don't know that yet. So what we can estimate, the estimate's about 1540 per thousand. With the and that was at 4.18. And we can figure out what,
We've done that calculator in the past.
We have.
We show the average taxpayer.
right?
We have, not our list.
Oh, boy. Okay,
Well, it's from last year.
last year. Okay.
The calculator is.
Yeah.
We can fix that.
Can I ask about the projection parameters, like the budget growth rate? Right now, you guys have it at 4% fixed.
Correct.
How do you feel about that number going forward?
It's just an average of the past few years.
Okay.
So it's probably pretty solid. Okay. If that's a inflationary factor, right?
Yeah.
So inflation, if oil keeps going up, that's gonna have a huge impact on
Yeah.
that, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Construction costs.
Nice egg.
Nice.
The only levers we're talking about right now are fund balances. We have other levers to use if needed.
Yeah.
Staffing, again,
Yeah.
utilities again, so in
Yes.
future years, we could use, and although I'm not recommending that, we could use those ways to balance the budget.
Yes.
And what's the fund balance if it's 3.9? Because it was 3.18 was 1 point something.
Can you Tell me that, I can't see it.
It's at 3.9 right now.
Yeah, what's
tax
the,
levy.
what does it take our overall fund balances to next year?
So that would be 3 years out, yeah, it goes to the first, to 26, 27, yeah, right there.
Fund balance 35,841,000.
Is for next. Is that right?
Yes,
That's the
yes,
top number is fund balance, then there's fund balance baseline, unassigned and reserves.
Right, so, the number you were saying, no, that was for 26, 27.
correct.
Yeah, okay. So by 28, 29, it goes down to 30.1. If we use this 3.9.
So if you do 3.9, it would drop by 332,000, the fund balance.
For next.
Correct.
For projection.
Yes, yes.
We'll get the total levy for you from last, the projected overall levy, and you can see how much that $300,000 of that is, of that large total. So the change is literal in terms of the whole message.
And I think that was a discussion that we ended at the last board meeting to tap into the fund balance.
Yes, yeah.
So my hearing, we're tentatively at a 3.9 and we go from there on Tuesday, or I'm not.
So what are you
I don't know yet, I feel like I want more information,
Could we get a recap of what, based on this conversation, what is the information that you're currently planning on presenting to the? I mean, honestly, ideally, I hope it's not a presentation. I hope it is something that we receive in advance so that we can review it, because I feel like we're about to be in a position to vote on something with maybe less information than I would hope for. But like, what is the information that we are going to receive before Tuesday?
Well, help me understand the information that you need in order to make that determination.
I'm just trying to get a recap of what we've already said. I feel like we said a few things,
Yeah.
like what is the impact on, like what is the concrete, tangible, to the best of our ability,
Sure.
estimate of what impact these decimal percentages have on taxpayers.
Sure.
What is the potential impact on the tax cap, or what is the historical data of what the tax cap has been if we go below the tax cap? I'm confused.
I'm not sure I understand what you're looking for there, and I want to make sure I give you the right information. So you're asking for the historical tax levy that we've used, or what the tax cap was?
What the tax, I'm just trying to repeat things that I think were already said in this meeting. I might be wrong.
I'd like both those, tax levy and tax cap. I think to cap,
Sure.
tax cap is more important, so I'm just trying to understand, like, how to forecast out.
Sure. Yeah, we've got that. We've got the historical record of what the levy has been, and what the cap has been. We can share that. That's very easy to do. We can provide the per $1,000 tax rate, and estimate that to some degree, and show you how that would be. In fact, we could probably add it on here. You can see what it looks like for every $1,000, or however you change this, what the impact on the taxpayer would be per $1,000 of assessed value. What I'd be apprehensive to do is include things like STAR, the equalization rate. I don't know that we
Yeah.
want to go there.
I don't
So,
need that.
Okay, all right.
Because you would reference that you needed more. What else do you?
No, I mean, that to me, I'm trying to get a better understanding of the tax levy and the impact if we go below it this year. Because I personally feel like we can. I feel like we could be closer to 3% this year, and I think that we can reevaluate next year, and I think there's enough of a fund balance to be able to do that. I wouldn't feel comfortable saying, hey, I want to fix it in for 3 years, because I think it is too much of an impact over the next couple years. But that's where I stand, and I'm not firm on it. I want to kind of understand leaving money on the table, like how this could, what levers do we lose, in 3 years from now if we need to pull, right? So
In between 3 and 3.9 is about 400 grand.
yeah, I think it's like probably 8 or 9.
8 or 9, yeah, that's.
I'm just
So that 800 grand, so that'll be 800 we wouldn't have next year as our baseline
Yes.
to increase.
right.
So that's the answer to it.
Yes. Yeah, but then it's like to me it's like the tax levy question, right? Because like right now we essentially have like a little over 4%, 4.18 or whatever it is our tax levy. That's our cap. If next year the tax levy drops to 3%, then we're automatically losing another 1.2 million from the fund balance, if my math is correct.
1.4.
1.4. 1.4,
Just
right,
because I plugged it.
okay.
I don't-
So that's the thing, like, I just wanna know
Not
that, like,
that good.
hey, if next year we still have the 4.8% to play with. At that point, we level out, right? So like, if I think that we can go a little bit lower this year, I wanna be able to stabilize next year if need be, but if somehow we're negatively impacting the tax levy. That much by 100 basis points, that would make me question whether I wanna go that way.
Yeah, I was shocked, I'm unsure what the trend data is gonna show, but we haven't had a cap at 4 in a long time.
Yeah.
Most of them have been in the 2 and 3 range, so this was a one
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
So if I'm following your line of
Yes.
thinking, we may not have an opportunity to
Yes.
get that money back.
Yeah,
Because it's only gonna be in the 2 and 3 range.
yes, and again, I feel comfortable for next year to be able to dip in the fund balance by $1 million to give some relief to the taxpayers. But my concern is, what are we doing year 3?
Well,
You know, and there's other things that we've been talking about, you know, but I.
Yeah, if we just hit 333 for the next 3 years, we see what it will impact us. And that's still a healthy place.
Yeah.
Then you're gonna be asking the next superintendent to make some reduction in year 4 and 5.
And that's my thing is, I don't feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Where things stand today to say I'm willing to do 333 over the next 3 years, because we're looking at, you know, almost a $4 million dip in the fund balance. I think that's too much. I think that's too excessive. So that is my concern. It's like, I want to be able to lower it for this next year, because I think we can. What happens the second year and third year, and I want to make sure that we can pull that back or stabilize it, you know, if need be.
And how, I'm just wondering, how will you feel reassured that we can do that? Like you said, I wanna make sure. that we can-
Just understand, I need a better understanding of the tax levy, like, 'cause right now it's very rudimentary, and you know, I think understanding this historically, where it's been at, kind of helps forecast a little bit.
Really, what I do this, but I'm putting myself into the board member's shoes right now. And if I was looking at the superintendent, I would say this: don't let it get that low, Bluebell in year 3. You do some hiring freezes, chills. Dom is assuming a 2% underspending number. That is very conservative. I've been here where we were able to do competitive salary increases because of our underspending of a budget, which was managed right here.
Yeah.
So if I'm you, I'm looking at the superintendent, hey, don't let it get that far.
Yeah.
If you think it's gonna go that far, then start to do some things to bend that curve. And that's an adaptive answer to a technical problem, if you know what I mean. But that's gonna take some experienced people to do that.
Sell Danby. Right, there's a
lot of stuff.
There's other things that I'm personally thinking about. When I'm thinking about this decision, I'm like, hey, I think we can, you know, go to 3 or 3.18. I'm also thinking about like those things that we've been exploring, like selling Danby for a couple $1 million, selling some other stuff for a couple $1 million, which could then replenish, you know, as well as, you know, those assets, they get sold, if they get redeveloped, that's then increasing the tax base, right? You know, if all of a sudden someone builds some large multifamily housing on, you know, Danby or something like that, you know, now it's bringing X amount of extra dollars into the budget every year. So I just want you guys to understand how, like, my thought process and how I'm approaching it.
And it's also, oh, sorry.
But
And that's an unknown.
And then
It's an
that's not
unknown.
even
It-
straightforward,
right.
because we didn't even get all of the feasibility numbers on
Yeah.
our facility.
Yes,
So when will that
yeah,
occur?
yeah,
And
yes,
selling is a maybe, of course.
yes, oh,
Can we
100%.
get $2 million for the building?
You're asking
Yeah.
information that we're gonna have for Tuesday.
Yeah.
So I'm following them, because we started this with, I need to know a lot by Tuesday before I make a decision.
Yeah,
And everything we just said, we can't get by Tuesday.
yeah,
So, Todd,
and I'm thinking out loud, I'm
you're-
just sharing with you
no,
guys
which
like
is
my
good.
thoughts.
Which is good, so you're saying closer to 3%, like the set middle number that was there, 3.18.
Yeah, I'm plugging in 3.18, which taps about 1.2 million of the fund balance, which I would feel comfortable with, just know we have some of these other things coming down the pipeline that are very viable. I mean, Danby does not serve any benefit to the district, we should be selling it, it's worth a certain amount of money.
Can't be alone.
Listen, I grew up in Danby, I was born and raised, and I'm still in, you know, I'm still there, so my parents are there. That's my stomping grounds, but the school, it's a liability, and it could be an asset, so I'm thinking of things that we're not gonna have answers to on Tuesday, but that's just my thought process.
Todd, I'm in the exact same spot.
Yeah.
As you are, and I had the exact same thinking you did. I'm absolutely committed to taxpayer relief, I'm absolutely committed to coming in under the tax cap, it's just a question of how much.
Mhm.
I had been at the exact number you were at, and then I saw a huge expense with my own eyes on Tuesday.
Yeah.
I would go ahead and look at it. When I saw that, I was like, okay, I have to update based on this
Yeah.
expense I just saw, and that pushes me a little higher, but still below the tax cap. And so, I think we have to come in with a document next Tuesday. Whatever number is on the document, you can raise your hand and say, I move to amend the document to make that number another number. So it's just what numbers on the document is just a starting point for the discussion.
Yeah.
I'm willing to go and just say, like personally, that 3.9 might be a good number to put in the document and start from there. Because that sort of reflects the reality of what I saw on Tuesday.
Or go to 3.4 to see what that was like. Because I understand you're saying keep the heights, but then there's also taxpayers that are impacted from the last time we spoke about gas prices, right?
Absolutely.
So everyday life, so.
Let's put in,
Yeah.
I'm pushed to amend my recommendation and bring in 3.4 on the document for Tuesday. That's part of the resolution, and then from there, there can be a motion, a second, and we can have a discussion and adjust that number. And we will bring back the information that we said we will bring back. The calculator will be updated online, the book will be in board docs. I think there was one more request.
I have to.
Okay.
And if we can get this, I have this projection here, but if we can get it enlarged
Yeah,
up there
okay.
so that we could at least see everyone.
We're on in on
See the
people.
different numbers going in.
Can we go up there tomorrow, Pew Heights?
Sure. Yeah. I was gonna say, can you send an invite to the full board, just in case others are interested? I'm not interested, but curious.
Dan, can you provide bagels?
How?
It's inside joke, guys, it's inside joke.
I'll be going.
There's a lot happening up there.
Yeah, we have to give that.
How about,
Yeah.
board member send, Dan Bryman and myself, some of your availability, or when you wish, when you have a block in, Dan and I will clear our schedules and, meet you there. Escort you to the appointment. With Ms. Gray, that's okay. Yeah.
That was me just trying to channel my inner Karen and reminds me often of including all board members.
Oh, okay.
That was my.
I thought.
Yeah, but I failed, I'm a work in progress. I was going to, I forgot. Oh, I remember, so personally, others may feel differently, the infinite nature of this I find overwhelming, so personally, I would be very curious to see, like, say the specific difference between 3.4, which you just raised versus 3.9. As opposed to the sort of like, let's all do our own calculations, but I think it helps have a more shared understanding.
I'd be happy to sit with you too and go through this. Just separately before the beginning. I'm serious.
Sure. Thanks.
Good.
I just think the conversations generally go better when we're all looking at the same information.
Or reviewing what was said, cause some of we have this new projection. But we have to look at what was stated at the last finance committee and prior ones, as well as the last board meeting. To bring it all together and how does it relate to moving forward?
I think that, just for the record, I think that the starting number matters, so like whatever number gets put before the board, it's just like it's powerful. Even though I know we can change it, but as we've, seen in other examples of meetings, it can be hard to do that, or, if there's not a consensus, or it's just a little hard to know, so that's kind of where my question is coming in, like, where is that first number?
March 24th, we were given the 3 numbers.
No, I know, but now, but on Tuesday, we're gonna be given one number, and it's like, where are we getting that one number?
Closer to the second number, middle one that Emily just put up.
Narrowing.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
All right, so that's item 6, item 7, and item 8. So action items and agenda. I think we put out some action items for you're going to come back with us next week with, I think we're bring impact on median household. It'd be interesting to know, like, what is the total dollar impact on the median household of a percent change in the number we're talking about.
Have we done a $300,000 house, right? And the impact, and people can use that.
So then, I mean, I don't think it's gonna be. Well, we'll see. It is what it is. Let's we get the number. I don't think it's gonna be.
Can I just share one thing that might even help with everyone as they're trying to, like, visualize this stuff? Like for every 10 basis points, so if it goes from like 3%, 3.1%, it adds about $100,000. So if you go from 3% to 3.2%, it adds $200,000. Like, or I guess, so it adds it, but then it takes that basically directly out of the fund balance. So just, yeah, it's a good round number. Perfect. Yeah.
We're also maybe have some more numbers on the flood costs might have by next week.
We're hoping.
So that would really help as well. Again, that's a known uncertainty now. That's
Yeah.
You know,
Is that number coming directly from Tetra Tech? Like they're doing their best, okay,
Yeah, and Serve Pro, so they're working together.
okay. Is there actually damage or is it more just clean?
There's damage, yeah.
Okay.
and then I mean, I guess one other action item, Emily, is there any way we can get I know Zoom that we have it, the screen sharing, I don't know if there's a way or different mode or where we can, or just bigger projector or whatever, some way to get that thing so we can all cut it together.
Yeah, we have, Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, do we still have those big smart boards we could wheel in here? We could steal one from the
Yeah,
library?
we still from high school, I'm sure.
Yep.
Just wheel it over here.
Other action items that am I pulling everything together?
No, I'm really grateful you guys put this together. For me, it's super helpful to be able to like play around with the different inputs. So it's great. I just want to echo what you said before. It's super impactful. So thank you. Yeah.
You should copyright it.
Yeah, now we're talking.
It's a hub one property that we will be speaking about, so.
It's district property.
Yeah.
With next year's fun time.
Yeah, that's why you're so excited. That's how we come to that.
Here's your mail.
Last comment, but I think we're moving towards adjournment, but just the last comment, I want to thank my finance committee colleagues who all went to the budget presentation last night at BOCES. So Mr. Hewitt, thank you for
That was
going.
nice.
It's hot in a different light.
I know, I don't dress up, that's about most you're gonna get.
Everything he said.
You know, Mary Grover was there, Dr. Brown was there, it was a good night,
It was
and
really good.
you know, I just remind people, BOCES is what, about $28 million, it's $25 to $28 million of our budget, so it's really important for the finance committee to understand where that money's going, and we had an update from the superintendent, BOCES, so that's an important homework for our committee, so thank you all for being there, Dr. Brown.
And 8 of our high school seniors were part of the culinary program there. They did an excellent job.
Amazing, their food is amazing, the shirts are amazing, it was so awesome. Very nice.
That was nice to see.
Thank you.
Okay, so can we move to item 9, adjournment?
Yes.
Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you. Sorry.
Emily.